In the early days of 2020, hackers broke into Texas-based SolarWinds and added malicious code to the company's software system. Many software providers updated their systems without knowing that it had been tampered. Ignorant of what had happened, they sent out software updates to their customers with the hacked code. This code exposed customers' information, and the hackers used it to install malware that helped them spy on companies in the US. Over 18,000 people were victims of the attack. The US Department of Energy, Department of Homeland Security, the National Nuclear Security Administration, the State Department, and the Treasury were not immune to the attack. Private companies like Cisco, Deloitte, Intel, and Microsoft also got a piece of the pie. What's even more deadly about this was that it was done so stealthily that it went undetected for months. The US government blamed Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service for the attack, even though they denied any and all involvement. In May 2021, the Colonial Pipeline announced that it had fallen victim to a ransomware attack. This led to a shutdown described as the most prominent known cyber attack on the US energy sector. Prices rose, and Americans were made to suffer for no fault of theirs. The southeastern part of the country was worst hit by the closure, but thankfully, they resumed operation days later. According to Reuters, Colonial Pipeline paid almost $5 million to the Eastern European hackers. Reports say the company paid in cryptocurrency hours after the attack. After the ransom was confirmed, the hacker sent the pipeline operator a decrypting tool to the company, which will help them resume operations. Although the company had resumed operations, critics fear that the hackers could plan a more deadly attack. President Biden responded to the attack by promising Americans a policy that ensures it doesn't happen again. Technology experts said that the incessant hackings would strengthen the relationships between the government and tech companies in the country. Going by Biden's executive order on cybersecurity, it is safe that a harmonious relationship is near. This clip aims at dissecting the crucial details of the executive order on U.S. cybersecurity and how it affects the country. Would it restore America's dignity by protecting her cyberspace, or further expose her to future hackers? I'll leave you to be the judge. So, let's dive in already. On May 12, 2021, President Biden issued a 34-page executive order on improving the nation's cybersecurity. This order comes 6 months after the SolarWinds attack and weeks after high-profile hackers invaded American networks and shut down some of the nation's infrastructure, like the gas pipeline. This sabotage resulted in gasoline shortages in parts of the country. This order applies to only the federal government and its systems. Thousands of government contractors that provide IT solutions would be affected by the new law. Note that some of the other provisions of this order are still in the pipe because they'll have to go a drafting and comment period. The other clauses may seem novel, but it is practicable. Admittedly, this order does not touch every aspect of U.S. business, especially critical infrastructure. But it is a good start and sets forth specific policies that every business must enact if they must protect customers' data. What all of this means is that IT providers will now work hand in glove with the relevant government agencies to protect cyberspace. The opening statement in the EO sums it up when it says, "We are all in this together." It further asserts that the government needs to protect the nation from malicious cyber attacks, which is only possible with collaboration from the private sector. First of all, the private sector owes the clients the duty to build secure systems. This section will examine what this order means for the government, IT contractors, and providers. I'll classify this order into 6 broad headings to help us understand better. First, removing barriers to sharing threat information. This order notes that IT providers are in the best position to know better than the government regarding the threat to landscape and incident information. However, by contract, the IT provider may be prevented from sharing this information with the government. In response to this anomaly, the EO pledges an amendment to the contractual agreement already in use. This new modification ensures that all information about cyber threat intelligence and incident response information is shared with the government within 3 days. The government believes that these private companies cannot fight hackers alone, but when they synergize with them, the results is far greater. The summary of this clause is this: if you see something, say something. Impact on business. The government changes the previous contractual terms and imposes new ones on the contractors. This is a good one and would encourage these companies to update their business practices to the safest ones available. They'll also be alert to report suspicious movement in cyberspace. Second, modernizing federal government cybersecurity. Another aspect of cyberspace the Biden administration is focusing on is the cybersecurity architecture. Part of the order reads, to keep pace with today's dynamic and increasingly sophisticated cyber threat environment, the federal government must take decisive steps to modernize its approach to cybersecurity, including by increasing the federal government's visibility and to threats, while protecting the privacy and civil liberties. This may seem complicated, but it simply means that the government recognizes that the cloud is the future of data storage, but it also admits that there are inherent risks. One of these risks is cyber threats. However, they can deal with it by using multi-factor authentication and data encryption. Social media sites like Facebook and WhatsApp have also employed two-factor authentication to protect social media accounts. The US government hopes to introduce a mandatory multi-factor authentication to protect the country's data. Impact on business. This EO is not different from what most private companies are already implementing to address the cyber risk landscape. For others who are just waking up, it serves as a roadmap for improving their cybersecurity posture. Enhancing software supply chain security. This section relates to the previous response of the government on the SolarWinds cybersecurity attack in December 2020. The EO calls on the National Institute of Standards and Technology to develop a template for enhancing the software supply chain security. It also requires developers to be more transparent with their dealings and make security data related to their software available publicly. These guidelines include auditing trust relationships, establishing a multi-factor and risk-based authentication, employing encryption for data, responding to attempted or actual cyber attacks. Better still, reporting incidents to designated authorities. Employ tools that check for vulnerabilities and remedy them before it's too late. The impact on business. Most companies would likely make informed decisions related to software acquisition strategies, unlike what was applicable in the past administration. However, federal contractors should take note that government contracts would only permit them to use technologies with the approved label. If your software doesn't suit the government standards, you'll be forced to migrate to another one. Improving detection of cybersecurity vulnerabilities and incidents. This executive order adopts endpoint detection that detects cybersecurity incidents within all government's infrastructure. The government hopes that the initiative will outline everybody's role in detecting cyber crimes. It also provides a standard level of incident response throughout the public and private sectors. This order is only part of the Biden administration initiatives that have been reeled out to the American public just in the past few weeks. There are other similar initiatives on cybersecurity, like the NIST cybersecurity framework, but this one is new and out of the box. This new law hopes to awaken the consciousness of all the parties involved and keep them on their toes because the hackers have not gone to bed. This plan will also be reviewed by experts and refined to be put to good use. Establishing a cybersecurity safety review board. This order also provides for the establishment of a review board consisting of stakeholders from the private and public sectors. The team would convene whenever there is a cyber incident and analyze the event. They'll also make recommendations to improve cybersecurity. The National Transportation Safety Board will moderate the board. Membership of the board will be drawn from the FBI, CISA, NSA, Department of Justice, Department of Defense, representatives from the private sector, and software suppliers. The board will keep all the information shared with it confidential in adherence to the law. I hope that this committee gets enough funding to effectively carry out their task. Impact on business. Many businesses cannot wait for this board to, come on board, pun intended. They want to see how they'll effectively execute their roles. Depending on how this board is run, it may inspire states to set up theirs to investigate cybersecurity incidents in their domain, standardizing the federal government's playbook for responding to cybersecurity vulnerabilities and incidents. This order allows the Commerce Department of the National Institute of Standards and Technologies to publish the guidelines for software supply chain security. They'll also recommend ways to check for vulnerabilities and how to find evidence of flaws. The NIST must also require federal agencies to adapt strict security measures for the software they use. Impact on business. Every company should listen to the NIST guidelines. It is not the first time they would be releasing instructions, and the private sector is already used to it. Even if these guidelines are strange, businesses must comply for their own good. NIST provides the roadmap for an organization's cybersecurity planning process, improving the federal government's investigative and remediation capabilities. This order announced that the federal government would establish policies for logging, log retention, and management. Impact on business. Companies would need to review these policies to ensure it aligns with their logging procedures. If it doesn't, they can revise it to suit the recent development. What some critics have to say about the executive order. Teresa Payton, the CEO of Fortalease Solutions, says she's concerned about how this order would be executed. She believes that the government asking IT companies to report security breaches is relative. The law doesn't state the department or agency responsible for ensuring that the report is made. Like I said, this order requires lots of fine-tuning because some clauses were vague. Secondly, which government agency should these organizations report to? CIA, NSA, or the FBI? If we look at it closely, reporting a breach to the wrong person only creates a juicy target for cyber criminals. At what point do they even raise the alarm over a cyber incident? Is it possible that a software application is faulty and acts up, thereby creating an impression that someone was trying to penetrate the security system. It may result in unauthorized access, but the client's data was not exposed. Should cases like this be reported too? Teresa is not alone in her concerns. Several critics in the cybersecurity industry have reacted to the executive order. While they hailed the moves to protect cyberspace, they're concerned about some vague provisions in the law. They hope that the Biden administration would take time to sharpen the edges and make it more straightforward. Garrett Grajek is the CEO of UAttest. He welcomed this order with wide arms and called it a welcomed improvement. He positions that we live in a free world where everyone can use the internet how they want. Unlike China, the US does not control the internet. Since there is no central control, information sharing is key to the success in the industry. He also hailed the National Security Safety Review Board, saying it is an intelligent move. To crown it all, none of the policies in the order forces an unusual change on private firms. Instead, it strengthens their response to the federal government systems and provides a viable response plan for attacks like the Colonial Pipeline hack and future ones. I'd love to hear how this order affects you and your business directly or indirectly. If you have concerns about the execution of the order, also do please leave a message in the comment box below. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell so you guys never miss out on future updates. Until another episode, adios.